Hiya guys, and welcome back to Wade's Workshop. It's been a couple of weeks, I know, but we're back now. So as usual, we'll start with some viewer mail. Now, one of my regular followers, should we call it, Stephen, hiya Stephen, has sent me some gifts through. It was a sort of 5,000 subscriber gift, as it were. Again, Stephen, so generous, thank you very much indeed. I'll show you guys what I've got. Let's start off, they've got 4 here, long series number 10 drills. Now number drills is something I haven't been collecting or haven't got any of, number drills and letter drills. But you've probably sparked my interest now, so they're probably going to start collecting number and letter drills to go with my metric and imperial collections. I go mostly metric, 0.1 increments is my sort of standard thing. And I think a number 10 is... good old friend the Zeus book. Let's have a quick squint. I did look this up earlier, but I've forgotten all about it. The Zeus book's got a column down the side which shows you the metric equivalent for number drills. Yeah, 4.9 millimeters. So long series 4.9 millimeter drills, or number 10s. So thank you very much for those. And again, I've got 3 packets, a 4.5 diameter, 5 and 6 mil. There's 3 or 4 in each packet of these drills. Now they're Alpen Sprintmaster. These are actually made in Austria, this drill, so I've absolutely no doubt that they're going to be really, really good quality drills. They're high-speed steel drills. I don't think they're cobalt or anything like that. They're 118 degree tip angle on them. Standard sort of jobber drills, but 4.5, 5 and 6 mil, and there's 3 or 4 of each in each packet. But they are really good quality drills, so again, thank you. Drills again, a couple of titanium coat, or titanium night rided I should say, 7.6 sort of standard jobber drills again in high speed steel. Always handy. You can never have too many drills in your workshop. You know, I've got a Chinese set of drills which are high speed steel, which have got 7.6 in the set. I'll probably replace the 7.6 in the set with this high quality one, or I might start a separate drawer with drills of a better quality than the standard jobber drills in my sets. So again, drill collection coming along nicely. Couple of taps as well. There's an M12 by 1.75. Feels like, weight wise, it feels like it could be a high carbon tap. But well, we'll give it a go. It's a no name brand, we'll try that one, but again, thank you very much. And then a nice M10 by 1.5. This is a Goliath, which is a UK brand and a real good quality tap indeed, and it looks virtually brand new. So again, these 2 metric taps will be going in my metric tap box. So moving on from there, couple of little B blocks, show those to camera, matching pair. I think they're sort of they look to be, feeling the weight of them, they're a good bit of tool steel. I don't know if they're hardened or not, I haven't checked, but I think it's a start or midway through somebody's project in making a couple of B blocks. So I think that's something that perhaps will be finished off at a later date. But yeah, great little things. And I'm sure they're going to come in very handy as well. 2 more things. Piece of studding, 10mm, M10, with some T-nuts, M10 T-nuts. When I get this fabled milling machine, there's a good possibility that it'll have M10, T-slots in the machine, or 12mm wide, I should say, T-slots in the machine. So again, T-nuts, always handy. You can never have too many. And last but not least, I just opened the box upside down. A nice, looks brand new, 25 to 50 millimeter micrometer. It's an Oxford brand. I have actually got an Oxford mic, the 0 to 25. So that'll complement that. So I've now got, this is a missing mic in my collection. I've got 0 to 25, 0 to 1. I've got 1 to 2. I didn't have a 25 to 50. And I've got a 2 to 3 mic and a 50 to 75 mic. So this was the sort of missing link in the set to go between 0 to 75mm or 0 to 3 inch anyway. So Stephen, thank you so much for that. Absolutely fabulous. And it's filled a gap in my micrometer collection. So Stephen, thank you so much. So moving on from the viewer mail, I'm going to do a little bit more on the cabinet for the vertical, for the height gauge stand. We'll show you that a bit later. But I have been asked by a viewer to show how I go about, as they say, my ways is not necessarily the way everybody would do it, but how I go about clocking up a piece of square stock in a 4-jaw chuck so that it runs concentric. Basically in such a way that if you were to turn the square stock to round on the end of a square bar, as it were, that the round would be concentric with the flats on the square stock. So we'll show you how that's done. So I've searched high and low and I couldn't find a piece of square stock to demonstrate this, but I have got a one of my carbide tip tools in here, the B-shaped tool, and it'll do for the purposes of showing you this. So I've just put the piece of steel, square steel, in the 4-jaw chuck, and as you can see, it's miles out of being central. So the first thing I'd normally do with this is have a look at it visually, and I can see that the gap this side and the gap this side is approximately equal. But if I flick it this way, there's a small gap here and a huge gap here, which means that the whole thing needs to come towards me. So if I loosen off the jaw here, maybe just half turn, tighten up the one at the back till it looks fairly central. Actually, that wasn't a bad guess, and that's looking, you know, a lot closer. Okay, so the next thing I do, I've got a DTI here. I'll bring you around to a different view, but I'll basically put the clock on here, wind in until I get to, you know, about 10 or 20 hour preload, and I'll just wobble it back and forward till I get to the lowest point, which is there. Okay, and I've got a 0. If I then bring my carriage back out of the way, rotate 180 degrees with the square stock and come back on, I'm actually one full revolution of the clock, like a millimetre and 30 thou. What am I looking at? It's a metric clock. Yeah, 1.3 millimeters higher on this side than I was on this side. So I need to go further in, away from the clock. So I'll just tighten the clock at the clock side, and I'm looking to split the difference. So the reading I'm looking for, and I will bring you around, and I can't, where are you? There you are. So first of all, 130, half of that is 65. So I'm going to wind it back. Let's just do there, 50 thou back at this point. So I'm trying not to get in the way of the camera here, and just make sure the jaws are tight. So I'll do it again. Come on, touch on that face. Just wind about 0.2 mil. I've got a 0 there. I'll just make sure that by rotating up and down that the 0 is on the lowest point. Till I get to the lowest point, which is actually there. 0. Come off. Rotate approximately 180 degrees, close as I can see. And rotate again until I get to the lowest point on the clock, and I'm about 0.12 higher on this side than I was on that side. So I'll just nip this jaw up. Might have gone a little bit tight there. Reset to 0 again. Come off. Rotate. Come back on. Get to the lowest point. There. I'm a little bit higher on this side now. So just tighten down. Splitting the difference. Find the lowest point again. Reset my 0. And off with the clock, rotate, and I'm sort of 0 on one side, 0.1 on another. Okay, so I'll just come 90 degrees this time, and with it being square I should have the same reading. And as you can see, it's nowhere near. I've got a gap between the clock and the part. So I'll just loosen this jaw here and tighten this jaw up on the other side. I'll drop the chuck key in the bed. I'll just tighten up the jaw on the other side. A bit more. Might have to just loosen that top one a little just to give me room to move. There we are, that's 0. Okay. Just nip these jaws again, make sure we're alright. Nothing too tight here at the moment. So again, back off. Around 180 degrees. I'm going to reset a 0. Find the lowest point, which is there. Set a 0 on it and come off. Rotate round. Find the lowest point. I'm about 0.06 low here. Okay. Point 0.03 below 0. 0. 0.03 below 0. 0. Yeah, just below 0 there. I think I've got it, just under 0. I'll bring you a view round to the other side so that you can see a bit more clearly. One thing I forgot to mention, now that I've got it nearly running central, I've just readjusted my clock so that the center line of the clock is approximately the center line of the workpiece, and then I'll get a 0 reading when I'm closer to 90 degrees. My 0 reading was something like that before, or in fact I think it was like there, because my clock was too low. But now with my clock on central I can get a more accurate reading. So I'll bring you around the other side and show you what I'm up to. So I think you can see the clock a bit better here. What I'm going to do is wind the clock in till it's touching. I'm only going in about 0.2, not a huge distance on the clock. I'll just rotate the chuck till I find the low point there, and I'll set a 0 there. Then I'll move the carriage away, rotate 180 degrees, back onto the part, and again just rotate to the lowest point, which is there. And as you can see, I'm about 0.05 millimeters low here. So what I want to do is bring the part this way towards the clock. So 0.05 is what I'm aiming at. So if I go back to where I started, back on, and that is the lowest point. Right, so I now need to go across by about just 2 lines perhaps. So I'm in the wrong position with the camera there, but I'm just going to, there we are, just that little bit. Just check that lowest point again there. Just set the clock back on by moving the cross slide to 0, and again rotate around 180 degrees and find the lowest point. Tiny bit high on this side. Back 1 line now, I believe, which should do me. Just a little. Right, lowest point there. I'll just reset a 0. Whoop, too far. There. And repeat the procedure. 180 degrees round. Back on to touch the job. Find the lowest point. There. Well, as you can see, I'm down to within hundredths. So now that I've got this side and this side central about, with it being a square piece of stock, I should be able to just rotate 90 degrees. A little bit low there. Let me just check I'm on the lowest point. Yes. So I'm expecting it to be a little bit high when I come around this side, 180 degrees again. Just a tiny bit high. Again, try not to get in the way of the clock. Just a little squeeze on that drawer. Make sure I'm on the low point. Yeah, just a tad below the line. Back on, just a tad above. Keep doing the 90-degree thing, just below. Just below. Just below 0. I think this clock is a bit slow dropping back. It is. Oh no, it's not. It just felt slow. Maybe a bit of condensation on it. Anyway, right. So, I'm very, very close indeed now. That's the low point. I'm going to redo the 0 there. So I've got 0. Low point is 0. Round again. Low point is 0. And hopefully 0. So there we are. That's all 4 sides on the clock reading 0 and a square piece of stock clocked up. As I said earlier, get it roughly right, you know, within, 0.1 or something like that. Rough and ready version. Eyesight first, then rough and ready. Then set your clock on center line, and that way your 0, your low point, will be with the, the faces of the square at 90 degrees to the axis of the bed and what have you. But yeah, I mean, I'm just going to double check myself now. As you can see, the clock's only coming up 0.3 or 12 thou. And important to tilt that little bit just to find your 0. It's maybe a touch under. And that's how you clock up a piece of square stock. Okay. If you were doing a piece of rectangular stock, something like, let me get a piece, something like this for instance, you would use exactly the same method. Clock these two faces until they read the same, and obviously your dimension's going to be different on these two. But as long as these two read the same on the clock when you're on this space and this space, you will have a rectangular piece clocked up. So yeah, I hope that helps the particular viewer who asked the question, and that's how I'd go about it. Just a little bit of feedback on the moisture problems I have in the workshop. I haven't been in here at all for a fortnight, and I've collected, perhaps a coffee cup full of water in this humidity removal device. So, well, at least it is doing something. That is water that would have been in the air in here, so I'll dispose of that and put it back to work. So the little cabinet for the height gauge. Up to where I was last time, I didn't have this side on, so you saw me to put the first side on and done exactly the same with the second side. I've cut a piece of material again, another bit of laminate floor. Approximately roughed out for the door, and I bought a little bits of hardware, a couple of little small hinges, and I've just, let me see if I can bring you in on this. Take the height gauge out, make sure you're still in shot here. Yeah, you are. I've cut a little rebate, or rabbit, I think some people over the pond call it, to take the hinge so the hinge fits flush. And again, a little rebate on the front edge for my little butt hinge to sit flush on the front as well. So yeah, that's a couple of little undercuts. Basically put the hinge on in place, scored the outline with a Stanley knife. I basically peeled the facing off. Peeled the facing off with by digging down in with a Stanley knife. And just to finish off the the bottom face of it, I've just come across it with a chisel, just smoothed it out until it was to depth. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other end. I'll measure what that distance was and do exactly the same from the other end. And we'll have two little rebates to take our hinges. Now, I've been looking at what screws I've got for these hinges. I've got nothing short enough. I've got these screws I was using for the rest of it. But as you can imagine, if I use these, they're going to stick through into the inside of the box. Now, I know I could grind them off and cut them off, That's probably what I'll do. At least I'll attempt to do that. And if it's a problem, I'll purely put a block of, like a support block on the inside. But I'd rather not do that. I think I'll screw these screws in and then cut them off flush on the inside. The box is going to be lined over the top of everything anyway at a later stage. Well, here we are, guys. I've got so far with it and shown how to clock up that piece of square stock in the forge drawer for somebody that's asked. Now, a bit of a short one, this one, not as long as usual. I thought I'd try, you know, sort of 15-minute videos instead of the usual sort of 30 minutes. See how we get on. Yeah, maybe if I produce 15-minute ones and do them more often, perhaps you guys would prefer that. Let's see how it goes. Let me know in the comments below. And anyway, I'm off to Ireland for a couple of days. My daughter bought me, my wife and I, a flight to Dublin, a couple of nights in an Airbnb and a trip around the Guinness Brewery. So I'm in work tomorrow and then I'm probably away for 2-3 days in Dublin. Just missed the rugby, but never mind. Wales didn't do very well against Ireland anyway. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you all very soon. Cheers now.